My name is Cindy Fletcher Holden. I am a painter. By profession, I paint murals and signs and paintings on canvas. And I am here today to teach a class to make space with paint, distance with color, and drawing. And for the subject matter, we're all going to use the Chesapeake Bay because that's here, and I'm hoping that everybody has seen the bay. And we're going to use clouds as our subject matters and water. Hopefully, I'll be successful at explaining how to make the horizon look like it's 4 miles away instead of right in front of you by color, line, and paint. I've been working with Langton Green for several years now, and it is one of my favorite places to be and one of my favorite groups of people to teach and work with. I started before the pandemic teaching a class. I had no idea really what I was doing. I winged it, and it was so successful that we all clicked, and now they're some of my favorite groups of people. Every job dictates the brush, and that's why I have so many brushes. My favorites tend to be the ones that are flat, and I keep them very clean. So these are just my favorites. Everybody has a different favorite, but these are my favorite shapes. Uh-oh, see that one? That one didn't get clean enough.
These are your favorites?
Yeah, these are my favorites, and like this one is actually too fat. So this one is getting retired to other even the ones that are, this one actually I use this one in oil paint, that's why it's so stiff. I never throw them out. If they get ruined for any reason or just old and overused, they have different purposes. So like once the beautiful flatness is worn out, they become scritchy. So even as they age, they will still have another purpose.
They have another purpose.
But the way I paint, which is different than other painters, because I think it's because I'm a trained sign painter, I like the flat brush because you can take it and press down and pull. I just put paint on that canvas. I actually go to the paint brush store, whether it's Michael's or Art Things or Artists and Craftsman Supply, and I literally go down the aisles and feel them. And over the years, I've developed my favorites, and I can't even tell you whether it's real sable or if it's polyester. It all has to do with the feel of the brush.
Okay.
Some of my favorite brushes are like less than $5, and I treat them like they're $500. What I want to show you today is making distance with color, distance with line and drawing, and we're going to use the Chesapeake Bay as our subject matter because I love the Chesapeake Bay, and I'm hoping that all you guys live around here, so at least driving around, if you can't live on the water, you get to see the bay. And I've started a quickie little demo here. I didn't want to spend weeks doing a finished painting because we only have a few hours here, or a couple hours, whatever. So what we're going to do is I want to show you clouds, sky, and water, trees to show something that it looks like it's miles away instead of right in front of you. And before I get too complicated with the color, I want to show you what we're doing drawing-wise so you can see the idea. First of all, if it's a seascape or a waterscape or a landscape, well, landscape's different. If it's a seascape and you're not in a boat in the ocean with the waves right in front of you, the horizon line should be relatively straight. Some people go like this and they say it's waves. But from far away, that's just straight without a straight edge. You're going to have a straight line. And if you guys want to use a straight edge, you can use another canvas. We have some paper here. We have some sticks here for a straight edge for the little canvases. Then the clouds, the sky, if there's clouds in the sky, if not, it's just a color sky. Speaking of cumulus clouds, which are the white puffy clouds that you see in the summertime when there's high pressure low humidity. The clouds that are on the top of the canvas or on top of the page are going to be the ones that are closer to you. As they move down towards the horizon, they get smaller. So right away, it appears like they're far away. And just for the sake of simplicity, today we're going to have, if you want, you don't have to do this, we could do afternoon clouds would have the sun on the top. So if there's shading, it's going to be on the bottom. If it's an early morning sunrise, which you can also do, the sun will be on the bottom and the shading will be on top. So clouds are not flat white, they will have a shape. Water, far away, if there's any kind of breeze at all, the wavelets will be small. And as you go down the canvas, down the page, which is closer to you, they get bigger. So without a whole lot of effort, we've already created some space. And we're going to use color to make it more enhanced. Then if you are on the Chesapeake Bay, you're going to have trees because they're not out in the ocean. So the trees that are closer to you are going to be larger, they're going to be dark, and they're going to have some detail and some shape. So let's say you're in the Severn River, these are trees. Then as you go further away, and I'll show you here too with the canvas, the tree line will get a little bit lower to the horizon, less intense, less green, more blue. And as you get further away, they get lower and lower, less blue, and then eventually there's no trees because you're out in the open bay. So as far as color goes, and I just started this today, right before you guys got here. I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time. So this is plein air painting. Although we are not sitting in front of the bay, we're going to need to use our imaginations. I'm hoping that you guys have seen enough bay. The sky, at the top of the sky, it's darker as we go down. This is a typical nice summer day. You don't have to use blue. You can use another color, but what I'm trying to say is that the top part of the canvas will be more intense and darker. And as you go down towards the horizon, it's going to get whiter and maybe even a little golden, depending on the time of day. The water will, from far away, it's going to be grayer and less bright. And as you go down the canvas, it's going to get more intense. Am I making sense so far? The clouds, the cumulus clouds, not cirrus or alto cirrus or any of those, are the ones that are the most crispy clouds. And here's a big one, and as we go down, they get less and less detailed. And I'm going to paint with you guys. So let's get started with the paint. So what we're going to do is, here are some colors. I'm going to have you guys come up and put some paint on your palettes. What I've used is, these are the darker blues. You need some white, which is here. Where's the little jar here? Oh, yeah, why don't we pass them out? Okay. I put a little bit of white, blues, a variety of blues, a variety of greens on my little palette, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of this gorgeous violet, which we're going to pass around, a little bit of this house paint that I just love, and a little bit of these dark reds. There's also some weird reds and golds here.
I don't know if everybody has white, but I understand what we have.
Well, as we go, you're going to find you might need a little bit more or a little bit less of what the colors are, because I'm going to show you as I go. These colors that we're using are left over from my last mural, so there's a lot of weird colors, and I can explain a little bit of color theory, but the good news is there's a tube of gray moving around. It's called neutral gray, and that'll save us a lot of time trying to mix a perfect gray. It's a great gray for the clouds or anything else you want to use. I'm going to pass this around and pass this around. If you need to make a straight line horizon, you just take this page, put it wherever you want it, and score it with your pencil there. I'll pass this around. There is a couple of sayings that you learn in art school that you take away with you for the rest of your life. And one is, you don't have to do this, it's not a rule, but it's fat over lean. And what that means is you want to use the thin paint first and lay down with water thin, lean paint. And as you like or dislike what you're doing, then you can build up with thicker paints, which is the fat. So it's fat paint over thin paint. So you don't want to, oh, but rules are meant to be broken. That's not, that doesn't mean it has to be done. That just makes it easier for the painter to lay down a thin layer of paint and then build up the paint. Another thing I want to say about this particular day, because we're not spending weeks on a painting, which is what I normally do, is it's sort of like plein air painting, only we're not sitting out on a dock looking at the bay. We're going to use our imagination. Is that I'm dabbing the paint on instead of smearing it all over. But there's no rule. That's the way I'm liking to do it. So I'm just dabbing it on here like this to see how I like it. Sometimes I lay it down. There is no right way or wrong way to apply the paint. It's just what I'm focusing on here is trying to get paint on the canvas and create a spatial scene in a short amount of time. As far as color goes, a beautiful sky with low humidity, which is what I'm after. The colors are pretty normally blue, fading down to white and a little bit of yellow. But skies, as you know, can be lots of colors. So you don't have to do the blue sky and the white clouds. If we want to do the Chesapeake Bay, this water really isn't that blue. It's actually kind of a greeny gray color. So what I did here was I took this gorgeous color that we've been, what is the name of this color? I had this mix for a mural. Blue hyacinth.
It's like a periwinkle.
It's like a periwinkle. And a lot of times, you guys, when I mix colors, I literally wing it because it's like, I don't know why. It's my thing. But winging it, I'm looking at this blue hyacinth color, and I'm thinking, okay, I kind of want a green, but I don't want an intense green. So I just dab the brush in the blue hyacinth. I kind of wave over the yellow like a martini, but I do kind of hit the green. And there you go. There's the Chesapeake Bay color. I have the advantage of having grown up on the bay, so I can close my eyes and see the Chesapeake Bay. So this is evolving, this particular little canvas. And like I said, some paintings have skies that are lime green, and they still are very successful. So don't feel like you have to do the blue. I'm just showing you this is my demonstration. As the water, if we're going to use drawing to show space, the water that is in hairs can get in there. And I'm just going to do it wet on wet because of time here. So as the water's far away, you're going to have little tiny wavelets, and I'm using a big giant brush for that. But now that we've covered clouds and distance and color, if that becomes weird or an issue, there's other ways to do the same thing without the drawing of the clouds. And I'm going to demonstrate right here. So for this particular canvas, I'm going to do white first because it's just lighter and it's easier to, it won't murky the water so fast. So the same thing as this. The white, the lighter color still goes down by the horizon. And I'm just laying it on there as if I was looking at the sky. And I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and just kind of smear it around. So we're not going to worry so much about the cloud shapes on this particular sky. Okay. But I still want to emphasize that the lighter area is down low on the horizon, and that's still going to give it distance. And then as we go up towards the top of the sky, you know what? I'm going to break the rules here and use a lime green just for fun. So this is I'm going to break the rules. This is following the rules of real sky, real clouds, real perspective, realism. This one is going to be a little bit more loose, okay? So I'm going to dip my brush in a little bit of a lime green and dip it in a little bit of blue at the same time and just kind of swirl. So the up top of the canvas is going to have the more intense color. And as you go down towards the horizon, it's going to get paler and less intense. So essentially, they're both following the same rules. Things far away have less intensity in color. So the sky that's right above you is right above you. I know it's a million miles away in reality, but
So the blue at the bottom is the brightest?
the blue at the very, very bottom is the brightest because now it's closer to you again. So basically, when you're dealing with a landscape of any kind, whether it's a seascape or a landscape or even a roomscape or any kind of scape where you have a horizon, this is what you're dealing with. Does this make sense, you guys? So where the canvases come together is a horizon. That's the furthest away. The closest to you up here is the sky, and the closest to you down here is the ground or water. I'm just choosing water today because it's a choice. I'm kind of obsessed with water. I should talk about brush handling. So I have favorite brushes and some brushes I hate, but my favorite ones are these flat ones. But everybody has a different preference, and if you don't know what you like, you don't know what you like. I mean, the only way to find out is to try it. But for this one, I'm actually swirling the paint around with the brush while the paint is wet so you can blend the colors. For this one, I'm going to be less swirly because the clouds are objects in the sky. So in here we have blended paint. And then we continue with this one. I'm going to go down a size. And a lot of this is experimenting. You know how does anybody play an instrument? Like if you play piano and you hit the wrong note and it sounds like it's dissonant, you'll know when something doesn't work on the canvas. That's the beauty of paint. You can always let it dry and paint over it. I mean, seriously. I paint murals for a living, and there's times I was like, oh, it's just paint. So one way to get if you're doing water, and I see a lot of you are doing fine with the down low, but if it's too blue for here, it depends on where you are. If you're in the Mediterranean, it might really be blue out of the tube. But for the Chesapeake Bay, I like to muck up the colors a little bit because so what I cheat. Another rule at the Maryland Institute is they say always blend your colors on a palette first. I break that rule all the time. Actually dab the brush in the different colors. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually dabbing my paintbrush in the darker of the blues, whatever this is, phthalo blue, I think, and I can't even pronounce that all these years. And then I just hit the green a little bit just to get it less blue. And then to kill it, I just pick this red. I mean, as long as it's not a blue and it's a dark color is basically where I'm after with that. And then that gives you this, oops, that's even too bright. I'm even going to kill it more and use a brown. So this is burnt umber, and we have burnt umber and raw umber, the Umber brothers. And they're great at, the Umber brothers are great at subduing color if you need to subdue color. So when it comes to this particular water, the water up close with this mucky color, I'm using the word mucky, it's still going to be dark. So if you were to do a black and white photo of the Chesapeake Bay, the water up front is going to be darker. Unless the weather can change that, but for the sake of this paint and sip, then we're going to do that. So I'm going to muck up this color a little bit with the brown. Let's do a quickie little color wheel lesson. You've got red, blue, and yellow. Those are the primary colors. And you mix blue and yellow together, get green. Red and blue is purple. Red and yellow is orange. I have to think.
I know, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. If you mix the opposite two colors, like red and green on the wheel, I'm picturing the wheel. Yeah, you will get gray. But you know what? Color theory could take a whole week. So we're going to just fast forward and pass around this gray.
There you go.
Yeah. And a lot of my problem is that the coloring is ingrained in, it's a natural thing. I have a hard time explaining it because it comes to me. But the gray that is passing around is called neutral gray. It's here. It's really pretty. You know, I think it's almost out, but it's still a little goes a long way. When you're painting this particular subject, water as opposed to grass, or as opposed to an animal, or as opposed to a tree, the water it's generally a horizontal thing happening. It's when you see it, it's in horizontal lines. So if you draw water, unless it's really rough and you have waves, which we're not going to have here, so in general, you want to, in general, I say the rules can be broken. You want to paint horizontally to get that idea. If you were to paint grass, you want to think painting this way. But you don't want to use a brushstroke like that for water. It won't read like water. But that doesn't mean you can't do that. There are people, you can break the rules as long as you know what you're doing. The sky is atmosphere, so it's not a solid thing. Well, the clouds are kind of things. So for what I'm doing is I'm just dabbing the paint on or swirling it around, but there's no general reason to go this way or that way, although you can. I want to show that for the drawing part, without paying too much attention to the color, the lines of the water are going to be a little bit bolder down below. Without thinking too much of wave shapes, I'm just going straight across the canvas, and as you move up towards the horizon, those lines get skinnier and skinnier. A good example is the painting I did with a cat out in the front yard. The lines, yeah, Atticus, one of my best helpers. By using water as our subject matter, remember I was saying the sky is atmospheric, the water is actually a thing. So you're not going to have these stripes in the sky, but when I say stripes, they're wavelets. And so for you want to bring maybe a couple of wavelets down. The stripes are going to be thicker towards the bottom of the canvas because they're closer to you, and then they get littler and littler to the top, to the point where you can't even see. You know what? The nice thing about this is you can keep reworking it, which is exactly what I'm doing. If you don't like it, you can just keep taking that brush and moving it across. But I just wanted to show you another fun option for clouds is you take straight white with a brush. If I have any white left on my palette, I don't know. And then highlight the tops of the clouds with just these little wispy highlights. Right? And then the water shapes, the water riplets, or whatever you want to call them, at the horizon are going to be little. And some of you guys have already started getting that. And then here I've shown trees, and not everybody needs to do trees. I think some of these canvases look kind of oceanic. But let's say we're doing trees. I have the close trees here. These are like across the river. Here's across the mouth of the river. Now we're getting out into the bay, and now we have open water. Let's say the sun is over here, according to the cloud light. So then you take like a yellow, or maybe a bright lime green and yellow mixed together. And like I said, I break the rules. I'm mixing the paint. So now I have two colors of yellow and green on my brush. And I'm just going to highlight the trees just where the sun would hit it. And now we have some three-dimensional illustration. And that bright yellow color is not going to be down low, because that's like in the bottoms of the trees where there's woods and forests and stuff. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Just on the treetops. Yeah, and this is assuming it's a sunny day. You know, like I was saying earlier, this is just one way of approaching this sort of scene. And what a lot of you guys are doing are gorgeous. You don't even have to do trees, but doing trees, that's happy trees. So I know it's a bit cliche, white puffy clouds and water, but boy, these turned out so cool. People were really getting the perspective using dark low on the water and light on the horizon, the shadows of the clouds, the movement of the lines of the water getting smaller as you went up. They're beautiful. I love the colors next to each other, this light phthalo next to this kind of a olive gray, and I love how the clouds have the white around the gray. I love how these clouds are all, some of these guys have used thick paint to make the clouds. They're gorgeous. I mean, what I was saying earlier is that I'm very pleased with how the words I've used in the demonstration have ended up working successfully in these little paintings. They're really pretty, and each one has its own character, and some have their playful water. This one looks like it's in the, what do we decide? It's Trinidad and not the Chesapeake Bay, which is fine. They're
That's not, is it? It's so interesting.
this one. So what I would, yeah, this one is interesting that she laid down the colors not the way I was describing, and it was a happy accident. So what's the word? Serendipity, that it turned out looking like Caribbean. So I told her, don't touch that. That's fine, even though it's not really Chesapeake Bay colors, which is that's okay. Things don't have to be Chesapeake Bay. These are all quite Chesapeake Bay. This one looks like it's out in the ocean, and the waves actually have energy, like there's movement. And what I was saying in the class is that the sky does not have to be blue with white clouds. It can be a color like this. But these, look how these turned out. They're just so great. This one has some abstract qualities, some impressionistic qualities, as if you were on a run along the bay and this is what you're seeing. You know, these are great, every one. I think you guys did great. Thank you so much.